Are you a woman of faith who is struggling to navigate your current season of life? Do you feel like life is just happening to you instead of for you? My name is Jill Pack. I'm a certified life coach and a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I want you to know that no matter your season or circumstance, it is possible to create a more joyful life. And I would love to show you how. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Seasons of Joy podcast. This is episode number 36, entitled Embracing with Angela Adams. I'm so excited to bring to you this conversation with my new friend and fellow life coach, Angela Adams. We recently met in person at an event for life coaches, and we hit it off instantly. She was so fun to talk to, and I'm excited to share this conversation with you. We talk about embracing this mid-season of life and how fulfilling it has been for both of us. And we talk about our journey to get there. We also talk about anxiety. This is something that Angela has struggled with for most of her life. And in this episode, she talks about that and then how she helps her clients that struggle with this same issue. It's a great conversation, and here we go.
Thanks, Jill. Okay, well, I am Angela Adams. I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother of 4 incredibly cute, energetic grandsons, and I'm a life coach. And I'm 54 years old.
I love
and
it.
Empty nesters.
Empty nesters. We have a lot in common, don't we, Angela?
We do have a lot in common.
We're kindred spirits. That's what we decided before we pushed record. A lot of things in common. So
a lot of things in common.
Awesome. And so you live in Arizona, right?
I live in the North Peoria, North Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
A little warmer than it is here in Cache Valley.
It's a lot warmer today. It's in the 90s. So
is it really?
Oh, I'm waiting. We're waiting for that fall. Usually by Halloween, it starts to cool off.
Okay.
So we're getting there.
You're getting there. Yeah. Here it's like there's that little crisp.
Oh.
You wake up and it's like you're in your covers and you're like, oh, this feels so good. This feels so good. That's where we're at.
Well, we do that with our air. We turn our air way down.
Oh, there you go.
So that we can.
So you
have that illusion.
Yeah, like we are in fall. This is it. I love it. I love it. So Angela and I met through life coaching. Yes. And we were recently able to meet each other in person at a retreat we went to, which was fabulous. We learned many wonderful things and just made connections with people. And it was really fun to be in person and to interact with people that love this work as much as I do and just learn from each other. And so I just knew I had to have Angela on. So I'm so glad she agreed to come and share a little bit of her story and who she works with and just pick her brain a little bit. So Angela, I'd love for you to tell us, how did you find coaching and when did you find coaching?
Oh my goodness. Okay. How much time do you have? Just kidding. No, I found coaching about, we were in 22, probably about 2017. I found coaching and I was at a point in my life, maybe it was 2018. Anyway, I was at a point in my life where I was on the 30-year plan for graduating with my degree. I got married really young with the idea of going back to school. And I finally finished school in 2017 and I landed my first full-time job. And after being a stay-at-home mom for 28 years and going to work full-time, I did not like that. I loved my job. I worked with families and parents. I taught parenting classes and I taught children ages 0 to 3. It was just a lot of fun. But this working full-time and not being in charge of my own schedule was a little rough. Was not for me and all the red tape. So I learned that I didn't like to work for anybody. I had been my own boss for so long that I wanted to be my own boss again. But here's the deal. I didn't know what that looked like at all. and things were happening with my job that I just didn't see myself there any longer than that. So the joke was when my husband said, "Well, you were one and done. All right." And it's like, well, I gave it a go. I did great. I enjoyed it, but this wasn't for me. Wasn't conducive for my family. I wanted to spend more time with my grandsons who live out of state. And so that just wasn't for me. So I was at a point where I just didn't know what to do. Here, my youngest son had just graduated from high school. He was starting his first year at BYU, and we were empty nesters. And I knew that I'd go crazy with having nothing to focus on, right? So I was looking at all kinds of options. And I did the business self-reliance class, and loved it. And I thought, why did I pick business? Because I just thought it sounded kind of interesting. I had no real intention to building my business, but I thought, hey, let's just try it. And then I decided, you know what, maybe I'll just open up a preschool in my home. So I had everything all set to go, and I was getting ready to just pull the trigger on that. And my husband tells me, I will be working from out of the home for who knows how long. And Jill, it's been 2.5 years that he's been home. So I knew, okay, teaching preschool out of my home, that wasn't going to happen. So now what? And I've always wanted to, I was so intrigued by life coaching. And I kept looking into it and really liked the whole idea. But I just, the thought of investing again in myself at this stage in my life and starting something new, I just wasn't sure if that's what I wanted, if that was the route for me. But the more that I really got familiar with life coaching, the more I just knew that this was what I needed to do. And so I did it. I became a certified life coach, and I pushed the button and to probably at the very last second.
Sounds like
to
me.
Get in. Yeah. And I remember September 2019, no, it was 2020, as I pushed that button, and I was like, okay, here we go. And I told my husband, I don't know, but I feel really good about this. I have no idea where this is going to take me. And I have loved it ever since.
Oh, I love that. I love that story. It is very similar. I think that, we're both 54. Well, I'm almost
Yes.
54, right? And just figuring something new out in this new season. Like you come to this place and your kids are grown, and you've given all to your family, raising your family. And I love that you said, I've been my own boss for 28 years. And I was like, that was me. Like 28 years, I ruled my time. And it's not that it's a different job. So we really were our own boss. And so it can be challenging from leaving this safety of controlling your time and doing what you want, even though you're on call and you're nurturing your family, there still is that flexibility in there. But to going to something totally different after all those years, that is definitely a challenge. Yeah.
It was a challenge for me. And I realized that I didn't need it, but I wanted to connect. And I'm one of these that I love building relationships and making connections with people. I loved all the parents and the grandparents and great grandparents that were actually raising their little ones. And I loved connecting with them. And that part of me, it was really hard to let go. But all the politics and the
other stuff that goes with it.
I didn't have a hard time. But I knew I wanted to do something that would maintain and build those connections. And, we have the church, and we have, our volunteer callings that we do, and we have those connections. But I I just wanted to connect with people daily. And life coaching has given me that opportunity to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So what do you think, like, I don't know what your experience was, but when I decided I wanted to do it, which was a whole journey in of itself,
Yes.
right? It's like I finally decided I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell a single soul. I told my husband, but I did not tell a single soul. Why do you think that is? Like, was that similar for you
It
or?
was so similar for me. I will say I I finally told my husband, this is what I want to do. And and he and I studied it out, a little bit. And I kept him, in the loop all along because it was a big investment,
Mhm,
right? It wasn't something that, I had to do a lot of work on that.
mhm.
Um, but I was the same way. I did tell two of my friends and I was so excited. Guess what I'm going to do? And they both looked at me and goes, huh,
Oh,
so what does that mean?
yeah,
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's this, and I was so excited, but their lack of enthusiasm kind of burst
yeah,
my balloon. So I started feeling like, oh, okay, well, this is what I'm doing,
yeah.
very
Shh.
quietly, very
Yeah,
quietly. Maybe, I don't know. And my kids, I think they all had different reactions.
right.
A couple of my kids said, oh, that's good for you. My daughter said, you're going to do what? Really? It's like,
They'll
yeah.
let anyone be a coach these days, won't they? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Well,
it's
I think
interesting.
yeah, it was. And I think where they were coming from was like, really, mom, you are going to try and build a business?
Yeah, yeah,
Really? And
yeah.
I think that was it. I mean, they knew that I had no problem connecting with people. I mean, I could go to the grocery store and get to know somebody standing behind me, and I could get to know all these details, and they would just come out shaking their head. How
Yeah,
do you do it? It's just that's what I love.
yeah,
So that aspect of it, that didn't surprise them. But the whole
yeah,
building a business at
yeah,
your age, mom, at
yeah,
your age.
yeah, yeah. It's a different, and I think it even took me time, like, I advertised for free coaching, and so you do have to kind of put
Right.
yourself out there. But it
Yeah.
wasn't my first answer. Like when people say, "What are you doing? What do you do?" I didn't jump right in and say I'm a life coach. It's taken me time to kind of own that
To
piece of
own
me.
it.
Yeah,
I think where I used to get tripped up is what is a life coach?
yeah. What is that?
And then I had to really get how would I describe it
Yeah.
to somebody, and I think I came to the most simplified, and I remember writing this big old long thing and that's not going to work and, simplifying it. And it's just someone that I can talk to that will give me perspective of what's happening in my life.
Hmm. I love that. I think that's beautiful. So in this journey of, you know, becoming that person for someone else, right? Now you're that
Right.
person for someone else. What is your biggest, like, what have you gained from all of it through this story and for like, yeah, like from life coaching and this journey? Like, what have you taken away from this?
Well, I think as we were talking earlier, I feel like we're all in this together, right?
Mhm.
And there isn't one of us that has it all together. We all need each other. And I think for me, just becoming more aware of what I was creating for myself for so many years. This perfectionism, where that anxiety, I'm an anxiety coach. And so to understand my own anxiety and to know that that's not my identity. That's what has been so transformative with me as far as life coaching, really understanding where that's coming from and understanding, oh, that's perfectionism. Oh, that explains so much. And
Yeah.
understanding how to really allow that anxiety instead of running away from it. I was constantly running away from it. I was constantly resisting it, causing it to be so much more than it actually was.
Yeah.
And learning those tools has been super transformative. But knowing that we're all in this together, and that nobody, no matter what they look like on the outside or what you see on Sunday or wherever,
Yeah.
everybody struggles somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And that it's okay that we struggle.
And exactly, it
Oh,
is okay.
it's
There's
totally normal.
nothing wrong with us. We're
Yeah.
totally normal, right? We're
Yeah.
totally normal.
Totally normal. Having this experience that's going to stretch us and grow us, like that is the whole purpose. I've talked about this before with people. We have the plan of salvation, right? And we're taught that in heaven, we decided to come here, and the goal is to get back to our heavenly
Right.
parents, right? Well, there's a lot of stuff in the middle that we don't talk about, and that means opposition in all things
Oh,
to
yes.
stretch us and grow us. And it took me a long time to realize, like, um, if the goal was to get back to God, we were already there. We were already with our heavenly parents. So that must not be the whole goal, right? The goal is to become back in who we are, like in choosing our identity, choosing who we're going to follow, who we're going to become, what traits of the Savior we want to have as our traits. That is the whole point. And to learn any of that comes with a lot of messy.
Yeah, it's got,
A whole lot of messy.
we both worked with Molly Claire, and I loved the life coach school that we were both certified in, teaches us we have to go through this river of misery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before, and that's the opposition in all things, to
Yeah.
grow us and to stretch us. And we don't want to drown in that river, because if we, and that could easily happen if we don't understand that, oh, this is just the river the slime I have to
Yeah.
swim through, right?
Here's the ride.
But I love what Molly called it, a river of adventure.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
I really like that. It's
Yeah.
misery, just, it doesn't, I don't like misery.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we're going to be miserable sometimes,
Yeah.
but when you look at it as more of an adventure, it's a river
Mhm.
of adventure that we're
Yeah.
going through. And
Oh,
some
I
of those
love that.
adventures are going to be rough. She gave a really great analogy of going through river rapids. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes you're going to be going really smooth, and sometimes you're going to be going through some pretty rough water, and it's
Yeah.
all part of the same adventure.
Yeah. It's all part of the same river,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. So I love that, as I've kind of figured out, who I want to reach out to and who I want to help, right? It's women in the mid-season of life as we
Oh,
try
such a
to,
great,
yes, because we need help.
great.
But just trying to reconnect with ourselves and connect with our adult children, because that's can be challenging, and connect with God, because sometimes I think we can kind of question our worth and our value as we hit this new season. And as I've kind of fine-tuned my message, I did add this little piece of one adventure at a time. And so when you said
And
that, I was like, oh my, that totally fits, because life is this adventure, and
it
all
is.
adventure comes with a variety of experiences. Some are great and some are really scary.
Some grow us,
Some
right?
grow us. Yeah.
Some
Some
really
of us
grow.
throw us out of the raft, let's be honest. And we have to climb back in, right? So I love
Yes.
that. I think that's so beautiful. So you work with women who say they struggle with anxiety. Is that
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
focus? Yeah.
I
Okay. Tell
do.
us
I
about that.
do. I work with, and I say I work with anyone, but most of my clients have been women who struggle with anxiety. And to be honest with you, it's interesting. It encompasses every stage of life. So I have some that are, I've coached some that are in college. I've coached, some that are in our season of life. I've coached young moms and everyone in between, and going through different experiences that they're working through that anxiety. And it's funny how sometimes anxiety isn't even the focus.
Right.
But there's always that underlying focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me until midlife, till this stage, to understand that anxiety is not who I am.
Yeah.
You know, I've had anxiety for, I think, my entire life. And going through each stage, I mean, let's face it, as we're raising our children and they're young, there's a lot of, anxiety that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then this stage of life, as our bodies are changing, as we're getting older and things are not working like they used to.
They're changing locations is what's happening.
Yes, exactly. I would agree 100%.
It's an adventure.
It's an adventure, that gravity, that everything.
Gravity
it's an
pull.
Adventure. Yep. And there's a lot of anxiety because we tend to want to just resist it. We just want to resist. And I find that wherever we're at in life, and whatever stage, it's almost like we try to resist it instead of really embracing it. I have a podcast, a weekly podcast, and I chose the title to be Embrace It All, because I want everyone to understand that that it's totally possible to embrace all of this earth experience, all of this journey, and especially anxiety. You can even embrace your anxiety when you understand.
Because I think sometimes when we're experiencing those elevated emotions, right, like anxiety, it feels like a problem to be solved.
Yes.
So just got to hurry and fix it. We've got to solve for it. And that is that resistance, because on some level we believe it's wrong to feel that. We're doing something wrong, or we are wrong because we're experiencing that emotion. So I love that name of just embracing all, welcoming it all. Because what I've found, and you've probably found, is when we just allow for it, it actually is not that big of a deal.
Right.
It really
we make it
leave.
Yes. We make it. And I work with my, the clients that I work with, I work a lot with those emotions. And sometimes when they come to me and they're so elevated, we have to process that emotion. We have to allow that emotion before we can even coach cognitively.
Yeah.
We have to coach what's going on in their brain, because the emotions are so big. And it's amazing how much resistance I think we have this idea that we're so afraid that if we allow that emotion, it is just going to blow up.
Right. So it's going to take over.
Yeah. And it's going to take over. And what happens is the complete opposite. It starts diminishing and diminishing. And then we can really get a handle on it and understand where it's coming from.
A lot of the people I work with, as they learn to understand what coaching is, it's so easy for them to go, yeah, I just need to think something different, right? They just want to hurry and find a new thought.
Want to fix it fast.
We know the model, CTFAR, and so we want to hurry and find that thought that's instantly going to change that feeling so that we don't have to feel it anymore.
Yeah.
And that is a misconception of what coaching really is. Coaching isn't about hurrying and changing your thought. It's about being aware of your thought, but also embracing the emotions that come with those thoughts.
Exactly. And understanding what those emotions are trying to tell us.
The teaching that can happen.
Because all an emotion is just your brain's way of communicating to your body, just information to be explored but we get so afraid, so much fear and about feeling anything.
Well, and I think
uncomfortable.
I think it's safe to say, like, women of our age, and even I think in society in general, but I grew up in a time where feelings weren't talked about. Feelings weren't really considered something that we dealt with. We'd push through them, right? We
pushed through them, or we pushed them. We just ignored them.
We just didn't deal with them, right? And so now we're in our 50s and we're like, oh, there's that emotion. Oh, there you
Yeah.
are.
And you want me to feel this? I didn't
Yeah.
want to, I
Yeah.
didn't understand it then. Why do
Yeah.
I want to feel
Yeah.
that?
But as I have opened myself up, I remember, and I tell this story of the first time that I really experienced processing an emotion will always be, it will just be seared into my mind because it was really scary to lean into that and to like, okay, this is what it is, right? And it was that anxiety. It was anxiety, and it was like just walking through myself through that process, having learned all this, and then on the other side of it was like, wow. And I tell my clients too, like, it's interesting. I think I thought it would disappear. I
Mm-hmm.
had the
Mm-hmm.
misconception that, oh, if I process this, it's going to go away. But what I learned from that experience is it softened. It didn't go away, it just softened. And then I just took it with me. And
Mm-hmm.
as the day and the experience continued on, it did dissipate, it did go away.
Mm-hmm.
But that was really like kind of this aha, like, oh, like the goal isn't to get rid of anxiety. The
Right.
goal is to process it and then have it come along for the ride.
Right. Yes. And I
Huh?
love what Elizabeth Gilbert, I think, gives that great analogy, You can
Back
take it
seat.
back seat. I'm driving.
Yeah,
Back
you're in
seat.
the back seat.
Yeah. And sometimes I will say, sometimes, because I wake up with anxiety every single day. It's just, now I will say, now, does it consume me? Probably 10%. Used to consume me like 95% of the time,
Mhm,
all the time. And it was really tough. And
mhm,
now I could probably count on one hand,
mhm.
in months doing exactly what you said. Now, when I wake up and if I'm feeling that, I just, I can stop and acknowledge it, name it. And if I need to process it, I'll process it really quickly because we think processing, oh, it's this long, And
Yeah,
no, you can process an emotion pretty quickly. And I can process it and then go, all right, sometimes it will disappear. If it, I like to say sometimes my anxiety is like a toddler, it just wants my attention. And the
yeah,
more I run and the more I, resist it, it's going to get louder and louder and louder and louder. And when I finally give it its attention, it's amazing how much quieter and
yeah,
smaller it
yeah.
becomes. And sometimes it just disappears. I did it the other day and I found after 20 minutes, I sat down, I thought, okay, I've got to just stop. I've got to process it. I sat down, started reading a book, and about 20 minutes away through the book, I realized I feel totally at peace. My stomach isn't
Mm.
okay. So my anxiety was telling me enough.
Yeah, it was sending you a message. I think that we touched on this
Definitely.
a little bit in the beginning, but it really, if we will allow those emotions to teach us or tell us the message that we need to hear, then that will help us move through that emotion, learn
Right.
from it, and move through it.
Get
Yeah,
that leverage and
yeah.
just, yeah, it.
I love that. I love it. So, what would you say is, as you work with clients, what do you see as the biggest struggle for your clients then? Is it the processing of the emotion?
It's
Okay.
letting go and allowing themselves to feel it, allowing themselves to really feel it and describe it. I love processing emotions with my clients. I love having them really describe it in detail
Hmm.
because it helps them focus on that emotion. When we get better at understanding, oh, what does sad feel like? What does discouragement feel like? What does anxiety? Then we can better oh,
There it
here's
is.
anxiety. There it is. So now what do I need to do with it? Some days I just need to acknowledge it. Like you said, okay, I see you. I see you and I feel you. I know
Yeah.
you're there. Thanks for letting me know, but we're not going to do this today. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's all I need to do. Other times, like the other day, I needed to sit down and really process through it.
Mhm.
and listen to the message that it was giving me. And it was telling me, you need to stop and
Yeah.
just sit and
Yeah.
be still. Enough already.
So it's really about getting awareness around you and
Mhm.
learning how to interpret those emotions when they come up for you. Is this an emotion that is needing a pause? Or is this an emotion that I can kind of notice, but then let go by? Yeah.
Right.
And understanding when each of those shows up for yourself. Would you say
Right.
that?
That's exactly it.
So if you were, so I could talk to you all day,
I
Angela.
know. I
It's
know.
been so lovely. I love it. I love it. We're kindred spirits, let's be honest.
I believe so. When we met, it was that instant
Instant
connection.
connection. I love it. So if you were to leave us with something, my audience is geared towards those mid-season women that are navigating this, probably some anxiety, right? Some things that new seasons bring.
Yes.
What is something that you could share with them as we end this podcast out? Like what could they take away from this conversation, do you think?
Well, don't be afraid. First of all, don't resist this new season. Look at this new season, and as I was thinking about it, I thought, wait a minute, I have potentially like 50 more years or 40 more years or whatever.
Yeah.
I look at my grandparents and I think there's a potential that's like half my life, right? And I think if you feel that inkling, if you want to try something, try.
Hmm.
But don't be afraid to feel that, those uncomfortable feelings. There might be a little anxiety, there might be a little fear that goes along. But what have we got to lose? We've got so
Yeah.
much life ahead. And I really think that we are at this stage of our life, we have so much to offer still. I think when I was looking at this stage, I thought, oh, great. Now what?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
But now I see it in a whole different way. It's like, I have so much more to give, so much more to do, so much more I want to do. So, not to be afraid of it.
If anything I've learned over the last year, because it was similar, it was like that new phase, and you're like, okay, I got the first part of the book. It tells me to get married and have kids and raise a family. And then they've ripped out all the chapters after that.
There's nothing
There's
between
nothing.
now and death.
Death, exactly. And I'm like, and at the time I was dealing with aging parents, right, who have since passed. And so it's just like, so that's it? Like that's
Right.
all we have? And it was like, no, like if anything, I feel so alive
I do too.
because just embracing this season. And I love what you said about we have so much to offer because we have this maturity, we have life experience that not only we have these tools, right, that we share with people, and living on purpose, but we have life experience. I think
Yes,
tools and life experience, there is a lot of power there. There's a
there
lot
is
of
so much.
impact that can be had with those two pieces. So I love
I
that.
totally agree. I
Yeah, I
totally
love it.
agree.
Oh, it's been so fun, Angela. We'll have to do it
This
again.
has been a blast. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jill, for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you hear, I would love it if you would share it with your friends and family and leave me a rating and review. If you'd like to learn more about what life coaching is, please schedule a free discovery call with me where we can work together through something that's causing you a problem. Just go to my website, seasons-coaching.com, and you can also find information about my Seasons of Joy one-on-one coaching program and my Seasons of Joy community. Have a joyful week, and I'll see you next time.